Hi, I'm State Representative Don Phillips, and I want to give you a brief overview of some of the information that's going to be on the ballot this year other than the candidates, some decisions you're going to have to make. Constitutional Amendment 1 is pretty cut and dried. It's been in place since 1984, and it deals with our state parks and historical sites as well as our Missouri conservation of soil. It simply asks for voter approval to continue on with something that's been in place for 32 years. It's been approved 4 times in the past. So it generates about $90 million, which takes in about 75% of the total budget needed to fund our 88 parks and historical sites as well as deal with the water issues. I think that'll be something that the voters will approve again and probably should. Constitutional Amendment 2 is a campaign contribution limit. Right now, there's no limits whatsoever. In fact, today's newspaper showed that one of our governor candidates accepted a $4 million contribution, and some of the state reps receive as much as $50,000 to $75,000 to $100,000 for a $35,000 a year job. There seems to be something wrong with that, and so this would reestablish something that the voters approved in 1994. And then was overridden by the legislature in 2008. So it would allow only $2,600 per individual contribution and $25,000 for party contributions such as the Political Action Committee. Constitutional Amendment 3 is the cigarette tax, and this is a biggie. We could spend an entire half hour discussing this, so I'm going to cut to the chase on it. It allows a 60-cent per pack increase in our cigarette tax. It's backed by the huge tobacco industry, especially R.J. Reynolds. Supposedly the money will go to early childhood education. We're not exactly sure that's the case, but that's what they say. I'm going to move real quickly to Proposition A and then compare these two, because Proposition A is also a tax increase on cigarettes, and that's 23 cents a pack. And in Proposition A, there's also a 5% increase for all other tobacco products, which is different than Amendment 3. Amendment 3 deals strictly with cigarette sales. Now here's my 2 cents worth on all of this, and this has been totally overlooked as far as I know of in the media. Missouri has the lowest cigarette tax in the nation. We're bordered by 8 states. And guess what those cigarette smokers in those 8 states do? They come to Missouri to buy their cigarettes. But while they're here, they purchase gas, they purchase groceries, they purchase lottery tickets, they spend money on things other than just cigarettes. And I think it's a huge multi-million-dollar industry that's fueled by the fact that the low cigarette tax draws them here to begin with. I might mention also that the 17-cent cigarette sales tax has been voted on before, and in 2002, 2006, and as recently as 2012, the voters overwhelmingly approved keeping the 17 cents a pack sales tax. It's something to think about. When you get to these two, if in doubt, just don't. Amendment 4 is a prohibition on use tax, services tax. Right now, as it is, a number of states are starting to tax things like haircuts, yoga classes, individual training. If someone had a trainer for a physical fitness or something like that, there's a number of different things, including plumbing, services that could be taxed that aren't taxed. And anything that wasn't taxed up to 2015, if approved on this ballot by the voters, would not allow any more taxes, locally or state. There is no Constitutional Amendment 5, so we jump to 6, and 6 is a voter ID, and that's another big one. That's been somewhat controversial. It's the only thing on the ballot that was put on there by the legislative process. And it simply says that you have to have a photo ID to vote. There are certain exceptions to that, not many. And then the people that say, well, I can't afford a photo ID, the state will provide them one the non-driver ID at no charge. The only other two things that I want to mention is the Blue Eye election. I think that will be particularly for the people of the village of Blue Eye. I don't think it'll pertain to all of Stone County, but if you see it on your ballot, here's what it does. It allows, in instances where there's no other candidates on the ballot, to just automatically approve that person in that position. The one that will be across the board in Stone County is the Stone County Developmental Disabilities Board, and it has a relatively small tax based on the assessment, your tax assessment, but it's a small percentage of your total tax assessment. So in most cases, it honestly would probably raise your taxes $2, $3, $4 a month, depending on how much your assessment was to begin with. It seems to be a very worthwhile thing. It's something that almost all of the adjoining counties around us have, and the problem we have is 200 to 300 people right now that qualify for help and need help in disabilities can't get it because they don't live in the counties that offer those services. So Stone County would become one of those. And so there's your issues that'll be on the ballot this year, and I hope that helps you a little bit.